This is the dark side of the NFL. For some of the greatest athletes to ever play the game, prove the talent on the field means absolutely nothing when you're standing in front of a judge. And if you think you're ready for this descent into football hell, hit that like button right now, because these stories get darker than a power outage in a maximum security prison. Let's start with a first-round pick who might be the most psycho killer of them all. A calculated murder plot that left a young mother dead and her infant son fighting for life. Ray Caruth was supposed to be Carolina's future. He was a first-round pick in 1997, taken 27th overall. He signed a 4-year deal worth nearly $4 million and looked like a young receiver the Panthers could believe in. But what happened next had nothing to do with football. On November 16, 1999, Caruth's pregnant girlfriend, Jerry Adams, was shot 4 times. The plan was cold and deliberate. The man who pulled the trigger was Van Brett Watkins Sr., a nightclub manager Caruth paid $2,000 to kill her. Killer slowed his car and stopped in front of Cherica's vehicle, trapping her in place. Another car pulled up alongside her, and the shooting began. Against the odds, Cherica survived long enough to call 911. She shared that she believed her boyfriend, Ray Caruth, to be the person behind the attack, before being rushed to the hospital, where doctors performed an emergency C-section. Her son, Chancellor Lee Adams, lived, but after going without oxygen for more than an hour, he was left with permanent brain damage and cerebral palsy. Cherica died on December 14, 1999, but she didn't die without leaving evidence. Her 911 call, handwritten notes from her hospital bed, all of it pointed straight to Caruth. Under the terms of his bail, Caruth was supposed to turn himself in after her death. Instead, he disappeared. Days later, authorities found him hiding in the trunk of a car in Tennessee, tipped off by his own mother. At trial, Watkins testified that Caruth orchestrated the murder after Cherica refused to have an abortion. Former girlfriends described a pattern of control and abuse. In January 2001, Ray Caruth was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and sentenced to 18 to 24 years in prison. He was released in October 2018 after serving nearly 19 years. Chancellor, who lives with severe disabilities from the shooting, remains with his grandmother, who has made it clear Caruth will never have custody of the son he tried to have killed. But if you think a calculated murder plot is as dark as it gets, the next player will make your skin crawl. Because he is the son of a Hall of Famer who targeted elderly, homeless women and unconscious strangers, proving that football legacy means nothing when you're a sexual predator. Kellen Winslow Jr. had everything going for him. He was the son of Hall of Fame tight end Kellen Winslow, a first-round pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, a Pro Bowler who made more than $40 million over a 10-year career with Cleveland, Tampa Bay, New England, and the Jets. When he retired in 2013, everything looked clean. His reputation was intact. His future looked set. Then, the stories started coming out, and they were horrifying. Between 2018 and 2019, Winslow was charged with sexually assaulting 5 women in Southern California, and the victims weren't random. They were some of the most vulnerable people imaginable. A 58-year-old homeless woman he befriended, then attacked. A 54-year-old hitchhiker he picked up in his Hummer. An unconscious 17-year-old at a party back in 2003. A 59-year-old woman he exposed himself to while she was gardening. And a 77-year-old woman he made lewd gestures toward at the gym. Prosecutors described him as a wolf in sheep's clothing, someone who felt protected by fame and used it to prey on women who were older, isolated, or unable to defend themselves. Police also accused him of breaking into the homes of women in their 70s and 80s, though those charges were later dismissed. At trial in June 2019, a jury convicted Winslow of assaulting the homeless woman, along with multiple counts of indecent exposure and lewd conduct. The jury couldn't reach a verdict on the more serious charges, setting the stage for a retrial. Rather than face a possible life sentence, Winslow pleaded guilty to raping an unconscious teenager and to sexual battery involving the hitchhiker. The judge sentenced him to 14 years in prison, calling him a sexual predator who specifically targeted vulnerable women because of their age and circumstances. His wife filed for divorce almost immediately, and his Hall of Fame father sat through the trial day after day, watching his son's career and legacy collapse in real time. Now, the next case isn't about a single moment. It's about years of violence that were ignored, excused, and eventually allowed to spiral completely out of control. Lawrence Phillips was one of the most talented running backs college football had ever seen. At Nebraska, he rushed for more than 3,000 yards in 3 seasons and helped lead the Cornhuskers to back-to-back national championships in 1994 and 1995. He was explosive, dominant, and widely viewed as future Hall of Fame material. But the warning signs were there early. In 1995, Phillips climbed 3 stories up the side of an apartment building to break into backup quarterback Scott Frost's apartment, where his ex-girlfriend, Kate McEwen, was staying. He assaulted her, dragged her by the hair down 3 flights of stairs, and smashed her head into a mailbox. Instead of being dismissed from the team, Phillips was suspended for 6 games. The decision sparked national outrage, but he was soon back on the field, helping Nebraska win another national championship. NFL teams took notice anyway. In the 1996 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams selected Phillips 6th overall, even trading away future Hall of Famer Jerome Bettis to make room for him. Well, it turned out to be a disaster. Phillips lasted just 3 chaotic seasons in the NFL. Legal trouble, violent incidents, and concerns about his behavior ended his career almost as quickly as it began. But after football, the violence only escalated. In 2005, Phillips intentionally drove his car into 3 teenagers after losing a pickup football game. A year later, he was charged with choking his girlfriend until she lost consciousness. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, a sentence later increased to 31 years after additional domestic violence convictions. Then, while already behind bars, Phillips committed his final crime. On April 12, 2015, his cellmate, Damian Seward, was found choked to death inside their shared cell. Phillips was charged with first-degree murder and was facing another 25 years to life. 9 months later, on January 13, 2016, Lawrence Phillips was found hanged in his cell using a bedsheet. He was 40 years old. His family donated his brain for CTE research, searching for answers about whether repeated head trauma played a role in the violence that followed him throughout his life. And now, we arrive at the most infamous case in sports history. The running back turned actor who became the defendant in what America called the trial of the century. O.J. Simpson was American royalty. He was the 1968 Heisman Trophy winner, first overall pick in the 1969 NFL Draft, an NFL MVP, a 5-time Pro Bowler, and the first running back in history to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season. After football, O.J. Simpson didn't fade away. He became a household name again, this time as a broadcaster and a Hollywood actor. Then, on June 12, 1994, everything changed. That night, Simpson's ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman were found brutally stabbed to death outside Nicole Brentwood's condominium. Almost immediately, the evidence began piling up. Blood from the crime scene was found in Simpson's car and at his home. Bloody shoe prints matched his size. A bloody glove was discovered on his estate. DNA evidence tied it all together. 5 days later, the country watched something that felt unreal. Simpson led police on a slow-speed chase in a white Ford Bronco, broadcast live to an estimated 95 million people. A football legend rolling down Los Angeles freeways with what appeared to be a weapon held to his head. The trial that followed lasted 8 months and turned into a cultural earthquake. Prosecutors claimed they had a mountain of forensic evidence, but Simpson's Dream Team defense pushed back, attacking the LAPD's handling of the case and raising deep questions about police racism. On October 3, 1995, after less than 4 hours of deliberation, the jury acquitted O.J. Simpson, a verdict that split America. But the story didn't end there. In 1997, a civil jury found Simpson liable for the wrongful deaths and ordered him to pay $33.5 million to the Brown and Goldman families. Years later, Simpson was convicted of armed robbery in Las Vegas, sentenced to prison, and served 9 years before his death in 2024. Whether you believe he committed the murders or not, one thing is impossible to deny. O.J. Simpson went from football icon to being forever linked to one of the most notorious double homicides in American history. So, there you have it. If this video opened your eyes to the darkest corners of professional football, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Should CTE be considered when examining violent behavior in former players? Or does personal accountability always come first? Until next time, remember, heroes on the field aren't always heroes in life. Sometimes, they're the furthest thing from it.